First, thank you all for being here. I sincerely appreciate it. This is clearly an area of importance to all of us. I entered this race because I thought the system was broken, and indeed, after traveling the Commonwealth for a year and digging into it in virtually every respect, that has certainly proven to be true. I'm married, I have 3 children, 10, 12, and as of yesterday, 13 years old. For a while, we had Irish twins in the family. And I really wanted to serve my children well and not dig the hole deeper and deeper and make the problems worse. For 27 years, I've been building companies. And for a kid from the middle class who moved to the Boston area with $800 in my pocket, I'll tell you, it was a lot of hard work. But I know what it's like to grow companies. I have created thousands of jobs in these small businesses. And having that experience and doing it in energy and environmental and education and software, using technologies to drive efficiencies and give people better outcomes is a great background for someone sitting in the corner office. As I'm sure all of you are aware, a lot of the problems and scandals that we've read about over the last couple of years have somewhere been rooted in technology. And you might think, what does that have to do with this group? It has everything to do with this group, because driving better outcomes frees up capital to go to places you know you need it. It's resources. And unfortunately, there is a lot of need out there, and there are a lot of under-resourced places that we could put the capital if we just would be more efficient. So my campaign has been largely about job growth. It is a job that pulls someone out of poverty. It is a job that, and higher wages and an upward force on higher wages that closes income inequality. And to me, that is extremely important. And you'll hear in a couple of other comments how, to me, all of this is intersected. Housing and transportation and education and environmental and jobs. It's hard to go one place without affecting the other. But that's a good thing, because when you positively affect one area, you can do the same in others. I don't think it's enough. And when you think about where does business growth come from, over 70% of job growth comes from small businesses, the kind of companies that we started up. You know, Constant Contact, we started with 2 people. It is over 1,200. Even Boston Duck Tours, which maybe some of you have been on. I wish I could offer you a ride today because it's such a gorgeous day. Twin Rivers Technologies in Quincy, the largest biodiesel company. It's clean burning fuel in North America. Again, started with a couple of founders, created a big company out of it. And I love American manufacturing jobs. I think that's great. And to do it in Massachusetts, people thought I was crazy. It couldn't happen. But we did it. So to me, anything you can do to help small businesses grow is a very good thing. Now, in my jobs and economic plan, I'm focused on the entire Commonwealth. And as I travel the Commonwealth, let me tell you, there are a lot of people that are very frustrated who say, you know, it's almost a haves and have-nots. And to me, that is just patently unfair. And to create incentives for small businesses to locate throughout the Commonwealth, especially in our so-called gateway communities, I think is extremely important. So you can do that through doubling the historic tax credit. You could do that through giving these small businesses a tax holiday for all state taxes. I also propose an investment in an innovation fund, which again gets these small companies over that hump where they can't go to a bank and get the capital. And unless you happen to be so fortunate, which I was not, to have a wealthy uncle, you're out of luck. To me, it doesn't make sense, because this is where the job growth comes from. And for those people who don't know it, 61% of the new companies formed in Massachusetts, again, these are the job creators, 61% are founded by immigrants. And as someone who, as you might imagine, with a name like McCormick, I'm a multi-generation, Irish immigrant family, and first generation worked in the coal mines, next generation worked in the steel mills. Grandfather was a policeman. I mean, as you might expect, right? But I was so fortunate to have had some opportunity, and I was fortunate to, frankly, be a good athlete, so I got a college scholarship to Syracuse, played lacrosse there, that I was able to live the American dream, because otherwise I was going in a different direction, right? So it is about creating opportunity, especially for small businesses. If I could answer a little bit in reverse order, my last answer actually very definitely applies to the last part of the question. And that is there are areas of this Commonwealth that are not as expensive to live in. And we have to take these areas very seriously. You need to invest in these areas. You need to do it in a way that it's not just a particular town or township or city, that you're looking at an area as a region. When you look at the Pioneer Valley, I don't know how many people know it, they expect the number of college graduates to go down 27% over a couple of decade period, which is extremely material, as we all know, because companies and manufacturing and everything is getting more and more complicated, right? So again, this is where the intersection of education comes into play. So we do have to look at it as a strategic, what can we do in robotics? What can we do in fuel cell technologies, which some people don't even know what that means. 100% chance it's going to happen. It's going to happen in a big way. It needs to happen in Massachusetts. We have sparks of innovation, but we're not feeding it enough. People look at what happened in Cambridge with biotech. Well, don't you think part of that was because of the commitment Deval Patrick put into biotechnology? I see the connection. I see how that area has changed in a couple of decades. It doesn't happen overnight, by the way, but we have to do that. You have to invest in this area. That's why I have been harping for a year of we've got to get our energy costs in control. 37% increase in electric. Now, we started a company, we're cutting the cost of energy in the private sector. Why isn't the state doing this? Because that, again, creates the resources for areas like we're talking about today, that it is a function of resources. Why aren't we aggressively trying to manage healthcare? Healthcare costs, it's 42% of the state's budget. That is a huge number. That has about doubled since I've lived in eastern Massachusetts. That is tremendous. And there are ways of doing it because there are private sector companies doing it. And doing it not for themselves, but doing it for unions, for organizations, for colleges, universities, you name it. So that is the direction we have to go. Again, do things efficiently, get better health care, by the way. It's not just, cutting off people's access. In fact, it's just the opposite. It's actively managing your health care. And it's been done. And the data is there. And we have to have the political will to go in that direction. That is a huge piece of it. And again, that's a big reason why I'm running, and running as an independent, to break free of the status quo. So this, again, has been this is a specific example of a larger theme of my entire campaign. I've been using a saying since I've started helping build these small businesses that none of us are as smart as all of us. And we need to bring the various stakeholders in, including the philanthropic world, public-private partnerships. It is what I've been doing for 2.5 decades, not in this particular area, but everything that I do. Because that is where the ideas come from, it's where the resources come from. This is an extremely important, so yes, I absolutely believe in at least those levels. But again, I think they're the tip of the iceberg. You have to continue to do it. You have to try things, and you have to not be afraid of failing. And failure is okay if it gets you going in the direction you need to go. If you think about it, that's really the reason for charter schools. Try innovative models. If they work, great. Export what works in those models throughout the public school system. And if they don't, you've got to go in a different direction, right? So I really sincerely believe that a group like this can bring that discipline to the table and help people innovate and think out of the box, because believe me, the solutions are not going to come from an individual or even individuals who insulate themselves from you. These solutions are sitting in this room. I'm going to restate your question as an answer. It's not, for me, would I or should I, it's I have to. And the reason why I have to, again, is that I'm not one of those types who goes in and believes he's always the smartest person in the room and knows every answer to every question. I am very good about probing and asking questions and building consensus, because that is what has made me successful. I'm trained initially as a scientist, yeah, and then I've got an MBA, but you get a mindset that you have to constantly, borrow off of other people's knowledge and put the pieces together, and that's where innovation happens. If you don't have experience in an area, you're not going to innovate in that area. I mean, that just does not happen. But very often, it's the intersection of really smart, out-of-the-box ideas that makes all the difference. So I've been doing that sort of thing my entire life, of pulling in people, not always the obvious people either. Different levels, you want people where the rubber meets the road. So the answer, that was a long answer, but the answer definitely is yes, I would do that. And I would highly encourage not just a governor to do that. We need legislators to do that as well, so people are really informed as about the direction of this Commonwealth.
Thank you for joining us today and making us a priority on your busy schedule.
Yeah. Thank all of you again for being here. Take care. All the best.